My wonderful spinach pie baby dolls. Have you seen the PulseX yield farms? Today's video is about teaching you how to actually yield farm. I have come to the understanding that many of you don't have enough bags. And if you want to take the risk to do this, it is on you. I'm going to teach you how to at least do the safe yield farming. And I promise you, if you lose money doing this, that's on you. All right? That is on you. Nothing beats accumulating long-term bags. Taking money from your cash savings, taking money, getting a second job, dipping more in. That's what the real money maker is. These are just carrots on a stick. But PulseX yield farms, they're pretty good. So you're going to go to app.pulsex.com, and up the top here, you can go to earn and then farms, and you can have a look at these. So I'm going to show you what you actually do. So when you join any of these, you are providing a service, okay? These are different pairs. So what most noobs do is they will just look at the APR. They'll look at, 45%, that's not a big number. Let me scroll all the way down. Let's find the biggest number. They're like, wow, 2,200%, darlings. Look at that. That is a mistake, okay? You shouldn't be looking at it like that. You got to evaluate every single pool and what it actually requires you to put in. So the safest on Pulse Chain is this pool that I show you right now. PulseX and Pulse. W means wrapped, so don't worry about it, okay? You can wrap your coin, or it just costs one transaction fee. PulseX to Pulse, it's only 45%. Why? Well, look at the liquidity. It's $142 million, okay? These other ones are much smaller. PulseX Pulse, this farm, this pool is probably a spear of the whole economy of the Pulse Chain ecosystem. PulseX is the DEX, and this is like the gas feed, right? The layer one. You have to have a deep understanding of this, because this is probably going to tell you what the minimum yield rate's going to be for the ecosystem. This yield rate changes, okay? So don't fixate on this 45%. It was literally just 13% the other day, okay? This changes with the INC token. See how INC is now $32? When it was like $10, the yield rate was lower. This is what you're getting paid for. So what do you actually do? You will go up here and you'll go to farms, okay? You have to add liquidity, okay? So first thing you're going to do, you click on, see this trade, and you'll click on liquidity, and then you'll go to this page. You go, what do I do? So make sure obviously you're logged into your MetaMask. You click on add liquidity, and I have this little dummy Pulse MetaMask wallet. So what you want to do is, let's do the Pulse and PulseX, okay? I won't be able to do it because I don't even have enough gas to support it. But what you would do, let's say some of you have like 10 million PLS. You might say, hey man, I want to yield farm really aggressively in this. You can do that, all right? You can do that. Assuming we're going to be holding for like 2 years, that is more than enough time to make up for the loss, if there is. So let's say you had 10 million, all right? Let's say you had 10 million. Maybe do like 9.8 million because you want to leave it a bit for gas. So you do 9.8 million, and it'll tell you, look at this, it automatically matches the other side. So if you want to yield farm your PLS 9.8 million, you need 26.3 million for PulseX. When you do this, it automatically adds it in 50-50 ratio. This button will be green. You see this? I'm clicking on this button. You will add the liquidity. That's the first step. Once the liquidity is added, it'll say, hey, do you want to add this little token to view in your MetaMask? Don't worry about that. You can do that. After it's added, you can then go back to the PulseX yield farm, and then you can put your reward in here to show that you're staking, and you will get the incentive token. Okay, so you're going to be rewarded with the token to prove it, and you'll click on enable. Okay, now I can't do it because this, actually, I don't have enough gas here, okay? So you'll do enable, click on max, and then you will accept it. Make sure you enable it, and then you've got to stake it in. And you're going to have this little button up here, and you're going to press maximum. You have to do your max position. There's going to be a little plus sign. Once you do that, you will be able to see numbers here, and it will show you, you're earning INC, and it will show you your position. It'll actually appear here. Once you've done that, you're done. You don't need to stay logged in. You don't need to look at your phone every day. You don't need to do anything after that. You're sweet. So what's the big problem? The big problem is most people don't just stop here. Okay. Most people, they go for more yield. So what happens is most people will just see this, and after a week, they're like, I'm not earning that much yield. Can I take more risk? And what they'll do is they'll start to look at the higher numbers, and they'll say, I want to join this one. But they realize this, for example, is Pulse here to the USDC. And they say, but I don't have any USDC. So what they do is they'll sell half their position and put it in here. But then they will experience an enormous impermanent loss. So I'm going to do this. I have this calculator here to show you. It's an impermanent loss calculator. You can look it up on Google, okay? And I'm just going to show you this example. Your impermanent loss is the extra loss you're going to get if what you're in deviates in price too much. So the USDC in 2 years, or let's do 1 year. USDC in 1 year is going to have zero asset price change. But what about your Pulse? It might be up like 13x, okay? So here, look at your impermanent loss, baby dolls. 50%. So you know how you just put in almost 10 million Pulse? Well, at the end of a year, if Pulse went up 13x, you've got 50% less coins. You've only got 5 million left. Isn't that disgusting? So you got to be careful with this. And by be careful, I'm not going to approve. I'm not going to give you any tick of approvals or any ticks of friendship for you to add any of your junk to any of these other pools. So I only approve of this one. PulseX Pulse, and I'm going to show you the other ones I approve of, okay? So, look at this. Hex from Ethereum and normal Hex. This one is still juicy. So, it's Hex from Ethereum and normal Hex. So, you're probably wondering, why isn't the yield so low? Why isn't it lower? Well, it's because, one, the bridge is clogged, and two, everybody within the ecosystem doesn't really have it. So, they have to trade within it. So, some of you, this is a strategy I would personally do, okay? Go back to this liquidity. You can change it to Hex, okay? And the first one, Hex, and change the second one to Hex on Ethereum, because now you want to add liquidity to this pool, all right? So sometimes what you'll find is you can't do everything perfect. You got to trim some stuff a bit, okay? But please try to ask me about it. Don't rely on this, but this is what you can do. This is a very circumstantial position to be in, okay? So what you can do is some of you have like 100,000 E-Hex, but it's on the Ethereum chain, and you can't bridge it in. The bridge is clogged. The bridge is still clogged, okay? You can go to PLS burn. Look how many people are trying to come in. It's only 47% has been processed. There's still $52 million to come in, yada, yada. It's a nightclub. You get the point, okay? So what we're going to do is, let's say you had 100,000, okay? This is 100,000 Hex. Yes, 100,000 Hex. And you say, I need 90,000 E-Hex. This is Hex from Ethereum, but the bridge isn't working. The bridge is taking too long. What you can do is swap half of this to match it, okay? So what you would do is you would say, well, if you only did 50,000, right, now you only need 45,400 of the other one. So what you will do is you'll go back to your wallet, okay? You go back to your wallet, exchange up here, right? So, and you have Hex. You'll have 100,000 Hex, okay? You have 100,000 Hex. You want to halve it. You want to get some Ethereum Hex. So all you'll do is you'll probably sell half of it. You'll sell 50,000. And when you do this, when you sell half of your Hex and you P Hex, right? This is Hex on Pulse chain, to Hex on Ethereum, then you'll have half and half. You'll do this transaction. You'll go back to your liquidity pool, and then you can add both of these. Once you add both of these, you have now been given another token. You're then going to go to this pool, click here, and see how this says enable? You're going to click on that. And then it's going to make you approve. You're going to select max on your wallet. When you do this enable, you got to select max every time. Every time you go, yes, yes, max, and then next. And then it will say, hey, how much do you want to spend? Okay. And then you'll just approve it. You will confirm that you put it into this pool. And once it shows up, you will see a new little user interface here, and it will show you that you're harvesting. See this harvest, how there's nothing here? If you're able to click the harvest button, it means you've added to the liquidity pool. That is something available for you to do while you're just waiting for everyone else to get in, okay? Because you're kind of rewarded for having PHEX already. And then what you can do, let's say your Hex on Ethereum chain, you want to bridge that in. Once that comes in, you can add it as well, okay? So this yield farm, I know this looks big, but please don't rely on it. I won't be surprised if this yield drops all the way down to like 50%. So it would be like 1% a week. which is still good because Hex staking native is about 9% per year. Okay, so getting 1% per week is pretty good when it goes down there. Obviously, it's higher now. So if you were to do this, how you would calculate it, you would just do 976 divided by, you divide your APRs here by 365 to get how much yield you would get in a day, assuming no one else joins the pool. So it would get 2.67% per day. So that is your APR. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to show you, right, what the actual, if you were to do this, this is 50,000 hex each, okay? This total number would be $2,800. See this number here? 1,400 and 1,400. So you would be adding $2,800, and we found that you're earning 2.6% a day. Okay, let's just drop it down to 2% because these yields keep dropping. More and more people keep coming. Okay, so if you had $2,800 in there, right, you would just times it by 0.02, you'd be earning $56 a day. You're like, wow, this is amazing. It is amazing. Yield farm is tremendously great, except it doesn't last too long because everybody comes and they're vultures. Most of the appreciation comes from the price movements, okay? So yeah, it's great, but look, at the end of the day, this is better than nothing, honestly. The way I see it, any yield above 10% beats the hex staking while we can participate in this. You'll also get paid from the fees. That's pretty good too. So you'll get paid from the APR and you'll get paid for the fees. And as I mentioned to you before, a big part of your actual yield comes from INC moving. Okay, so this is INC, your incentive token. Do you see how it's, let's put 4 hour chart. Do you see how it's up here now? You see up here? That's why the APR is high. When it was down here, the APRs were disgusting. Okay, so I remember, look at, you know when it was down here, I'm going to go back and show you the yield farms. The first PulseX Pulse farm wasn't 46%. It was down to 13%. Because the price of INC was down. So probably Richard Hart is toggling where he wants the market to kind of attach itself for liquidity bonding and incentives. Take advantage while you can, okay? So your goal is to put your tokens and put that in. So I'm going to give a tick of approval to Hex from Ethereum and eHex. So this pool, okay? That's another one I approve of. If you were to ask me another one I approve of course, you could do this one too. Hex versus Pulse. This is PHEX versus Pulse. Look, if you want to take this risk, you can. However, this one is a bit more risky than the PulseX to Pulse. Because PulseX to Pulse will probably have higher chance of ranging as a ratio. You know this calculator I did before? Your impermanent loss has a lower chance of happening. So what I mean by that is it's probably likely if Pulse does a 15x, it's very possible that PulseX does like a 10x. Look at your impermanent loss. It's only 1.7%. That's nothing. That's nothing. But I'm going to go back here. If you look at the PHEX to Pulse ratio, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you here's the PHEX to Pulse. Okay, we can find it. We have, here you go, Hex to this. This is it, okay? This ratio is not as super safe, even though people think it is. It's not. People think this is super safe. I know it's been going sideways like this, but it's actually not. You know why? Because Pulse is a cycle 1 coin. Hex is a cycle 2 coin. I understand we are all under the Pulse chain ecosystem and we're all baby cakes together and we're all yummy spinach pies. But if I was to take a punt, I won't be surprised. You see all these sideways? I won't be surprised if this kind of, let's say in a few months, it kind of like just rotates up a bit and then just starts doing sideways again. So there is a bit of a drift and a disconnect that happens over time. But I'll tell you something else, okay? That disconnect risk, it's not enough to deter you from getting in this field. This is still pretty good yield. This is 128% APR. So this is like 3 times bigger than this PulseX and Pulse. If it was me, I would just honestly do all of them and spread it out. You can do that. Now, obviously, you're probably going to look at, this is where poo times poo. Okay, we're having poo squared fun here. So incentive token, I understand our ecosystem is good. Every other DeFi protocol that does this is the trap. The DeFi protocol founders, they always own the reward token, okay? And they get everybody to bind it so that they can dump on you. In this case, many people have got into this early incentive token. you can play with this if you want, but I wouldn't go out of my way to buy incentive token. More and more people are going to keep doing it. I'm doing a tiny bit of this, but I just don't know how long this thing is going to last. I don't want you to go take this excessive risk. If you want to, you can. If you want to just put in $1,000 or something and then just throw it in here and put $500 each side, honestly, just go for it. Just farm all of them, okay? So I'm going to go through this again. So yes, this PulseX Pulse, this is the blue chip, top tier, super safe one. Your impermanent loss risk here is very low. You can do as much size as you want in here. You're going to be okay. The liquidity of here is giant, and you have PulseX buying you up over time. This is just amazing, okay? And the fees are going to come. It's going to be okay over time, but you're going to get the least reward, okay? I would also definitely recommend Hex from Ethereum and PHEX. So do what you can here. If you wanted to, like, and as I showed you in the example, sell half your PHEX, buy the EHEX, and just bind them. You're putting in 50-50 and then earn your yield here. And if you want to do Hex and Pulse, yes, that is completely fine with you as well. If you want to participate in this, I give it a tick of approval. That's okay. If you want to participate in these as well, I recommend lower. Please do lower, because what's more likely, okay, out of all these coins, it's probably more likely this INC, as I go back here, it's likely that many people have farmed this and they will dump this first. Okay, so of all the coins out here, if I go back to the farms now, of all the coins, PulseX, Pulse, PHEX, EHEX, and then incentive token, I believe people will dump incentive token. Most likely, they'll dump that first. And so you have a bit more downward, not a bit more, a lot more downwards pressure on that versus the others, okay? So this yield of 900%, if INC drops 50%, this thing's down to 500% APR. Okay. Now, Richard Hart, he knows what he's doing. It's a great ecosystem. We're still early. Okay. We're only a week in. You got to act fast. Okay. You got to act fast. And the yields are great. I don't know how long the yields will be great for, but they're fantastic now. And the bridge is going to come in. And I promise you, baby doll, I promise you all the weak hands are going to come. They're going to come take this APR. If you want me to tell you how low these APRs are going to go, you're going to be shocked how low they go. Because people are vultures and they're very short-term minded. The most money we're going to make is buy and hold long-term, okay? So, to conclude, I do approve of these yield farms. The liquidity bonding of everything is great, but only those yield farms I talked about. Ones in the ecosystem. The ones we have to hold all together. Don't touch any of these other traps. Do you know why? Because you have to spend precious money in something that's not going to move, okay? So this is also, you can do this one, right? So Hex from Ethereum, so EHEX and PLS, you can do this one as well. You can do this one. You can just have a piece on every single pie. Just definitely do not do this one. Don't do a stablecoin one, because even if you had $2,000 in the stablecoin, you are better off, man, just buy one of the Richard Hart Eco coins. Buy PulseX, Pulse, EHEX, or PHEX, please. Or if you have $2,000, just freaking hell, you just punt it on this. Punt it on the incentive token. I'd rather you do that then leave it in the stable coins, okay? Because your stable coins only be worth $1 in 2 years. All right, so you have no upside. Definitely avoid this one as well. So USDT and Pulse, you definitely avoid that. Even avoid Pulse to ETH. Don't put your money in Ethereum. What are the chances of Ethereum going 5x in the next 6 months? Not very high, okay? You're going to have big impermanent loss if that happens, okay? So final ones. You can do these. You can play around in these. I've shown you the instructions. We keep yield farming. We're probably going to have to evaluate them week by week. And I'm just going to stress to you, okay, the goal, the absolute goal. You see this green, you see this harvest button? It's going to be green every day or every 2-3 days. You can decide. Harvest it. It's going to cost you some Pulse. Make sure you leave Pulse in there. Harvest it. You can decide what you want to rotate to. You can go to the trade. Let's say you've earned, I'm going to go INC. Let's say you've just earned 3 INC at the end of a week. 3 INC. You can decide. You might want to buy Hex with it. Okay. Wow, you get 3,500 Hex. Isn't that mad? Imagine that hits $2 one day. So that every week you were earning 3,500 up to $7,000 in the future. That's how you think about it. You're like, wow, this free yield farm gives me an extra in like 2 years. This is an extra 3.5K, and then next week 3.5K, and the week after that 3.5K. If you can do this, okay. You can also choose to rotate into PLS. You can do that too. You can do PulseX. You can do that too, okay. Either the hexes is okay, hex from Ethereum or p-hex. I would rather do maybe p-hex, but hey, they're liquidity bonded anyway. It really doesn't matter. Okay, this is your choice. I don't have a perfect answer. All I can tell you is hex is a safer option, but if you were to put a gun to my head, probably PLS and PulseX, probably they outperform hex in the next 2 years because they're cycle 1 coins. So don't worry too much about this, because at the end of the day, as long as you're getting something, right? All of these coins, why it's amazing is we're getting yield and you are rotating to something that is leverage on Ethereum. You know how hard that is to get something that's leverage on Ethereum, and then Ethereum is already leverage on Bitcoin. You are like, this is the triple boosted rocket opportunity if we get this right. So we are getting it right. Okay. So this is how you do the yield farms. If you have any questions, please like, subscribe, bell button, or leave me some questions. I'll catch you in the next one.